The human brain is an interesting and complex thing. It composes every thought and memory you have ever had. However, this wonderful organ does not just come up with these intricate processes randomly. It is composed of many parts that work together to make up your mind. The brainstem is the oldest part of your brain. It sits right at the spot where your spinal cord reaches your skull, and it takes care of the basics. In other words, the functions you need to survive are produced here. The brainstem is further subdivided into categories, first of which is the medulla. This is the portion of the brainstem responsible for heartbeat and breathing. The next portion of the brainstem is the pons, which is responsible for sleep and facial expressions. The thalamus is what we could call the traffic cop of the brain. It takes senses that travel up through the spinal cord and tells them where in the brain they need to go. It also directs responses from the brain down into different parts of your body. The reticular formations controls sleep and arousal. This is the cerebellum. It sits at the back of your brainstem and coordinates balance. Think of it as a tightrope walker. Rain comes from a nimbus cloud, an object that hovers above the ground. Nimbus rhymes with limbus, meaning border, and coincidentally, the limbic system hovers at the border of your brainstem and the brain's upper regions. This system controls emotions and drives. This is your amygdala. It is a component of your limbic system and controls responses of anger and fear. The hypothalamus acts like a hypodermic needle in that they can both be used to supply hormones to your body. An elephant is pretty similar to a hippo, and while hippos might not have the best memory, elephants do, and it just so happens that the hippocampus is your limbic system's memory processor. The next part of your brain is the cerebral cortex. Think of a fabric blanket, except instead of wool and cotton, this fabric is woven out of neural cells. Now smush this blanket up so we can fit it inside a skull. This is your corpus callosum, the body's ultimate information processing center. It acts like a telephone that keeps both sides of the brain in touch. This region is further divided into lobes, the frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. The frontal lobes are, as the name implies, located at the front of your brain. Your mouth is at the front of your head, so it makes sense that the frontal lobes are responsible for speaking. Next are the parietal lobes. They receive sensory input for touch and body positions. The occipital lobes process visual stimuli. To help you remember, think about how you use your occipital lobes to process an oculus rift. Lastly, your temporal lobes receive auditory info, helping you keep the tempo while playing music. Together, these parts come to form your brain. All functions combined, you have the consciousness, what makes you, you.